Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com, and we are talking futures prop firm strategy, specifically when you should get super aggressive. This is a very, very vital concept that you understand because if you don't understand it, you are putting yourself at risk of putting yourself in a spot where you're at a vast disadvantage. Yet, for the same amount of money, you could be putting yourself in a much better spot from an advantage and progressing through your prop firm journey. So, again, I don't want you to waste your money by paying for a situation where you could have paid the same exact amount of money for a much better situation. What do I mean by that, and what does that look like? Later on in the video, I'm going to show you some trading that I took part in my trading that was, as you're going to see, very, very aggressive, but mathematically, it was the right thing to do. So let's set up a little bit of context here, and I should note, I am going to be using and basing all these numbers off of the prop firm that I personally use and that I recommend, but it'll vary a little bit from prop firm to prop firm, but the general idea is what I'm trying to convey, and just the thought process is what I'm trying to convey. So the dynamics here that we have to understand right from the get-go is that within a prop firm, you purchase a certain amount of buying power, and then you have to prove yourself as a trader. In other words, you've got to pass a test. Some people call it evaluation, some people call it a combine, but the point being is that whatever the prop firm calls it, you select what sort of purchasing power you want, and then you've got to prove yourself. And then after you prove yourself, you move into what's called a pro account. And, again, they all call them something different, but Take Profit Trader calls it a pro account. And then at that point, when you start to make money, you can request those payouts. But this strategy is revolving specifically around the test phase. And that is important because during the test phase, you can take as long as you want. Big question I get, hey, Clay, how long does it take? How long do I have to pass a test? And you can take as long as you need. But I do recommend not rushing, but also you don't want to take more than a month. And that is important because when you purchase the account, and I'm going to be using the 150 because that's the what you see later on with the trading, that's what size account this was. But with the 150, that's going to cost you $252 per month. But the per month is just during the test phase. Once you get into your pro accounts, there's no more monthly fees. Again, I can't say that for all prop firms, so you'll have to check that. But with Take Profit Trader, the monthly fees go away, which I really do like. So ideally, you want to get through the test within 1 month because if you don't, then yeah, you can keep going. You can keep trying to pass, but then that's going to be another $252 out of your pocket. Now, granted, this is with the current promotion right there. So if you're watching this video a year from now, I don't know what the promotion is. So on that note, check out the link down below. Click on that link. It'll ensure you get the best in current promotion possible. But regardless, the per month, very important dynamic. So it's going to cost you $252 per month during the test phase. Now, part of the test phase, because they want you to manage risk, they want to ensure that you can, control risk and all that, is they're going to give you this number known as a drawdown. And the drawdown, in other words, is just how much you're allowed to lose. So during the test phase, you would be allowed to lose $4,500, again, with the $150,000 purchasing power account. So that 4,500, very, very important number. So again, 4,500 is the amount they would allow you to lose, and you have a month to pass. If you do not pass within a month, that is okay. They are just going to charge you $252 again. So keep this in mind as we look at now the strategy that is involved and leading us to when we should get more aggressive with our trading. So let's get into the good stuff, figuring out the strategy here. So this is representing just that 1 month. Of this 1 month, we have when you start and then the end. So again, just up here, just keep in mind, this is that 1 month period that we have with the goal to pass for the reasons we don't want to have to pay again. But during this phase and during what you need to consider here is, and this is what happened to me, was I was progressing. I was, going on my journey. And then all of a sudden I had a $3,100 loss. So what does that mean? Well, again, think about what was our drawdown. The drawdown being the amount we could lose. So at the start, you were allowed, and it'd be okay, to lose a total of $4,500. And that stays consistent throughout the course of the entire journey. So that line there represents a 4,500. You don't want to drop below that line because if you drop below the line, that means you have failed. Again, you can always try again, but you will have failed that test. But during my journey, like I said, I had a situation, I had a trade, just a brutal move. And within that move, it cost me, boom, $3,100. So right there, $3,100 loss. And that puts me down right there. Again, I don't know if it matches up totally proportionally, but the point here being is notice the distance that I had before its game over account is done. But more importantly, notice the distance that I had before what? Well, before all of a sudden it's the end of the month and the 30 days is up. So here's where you need to start to think, okay, is it better for me just to try to get aggressive? And if I blow up the account, who cares? What do I mean by that? Well, right now I have two choices. I can try to slowly work my way back upwards, but let's say by basically the end of the month, I've only slowly been able to work my way up to, and this is all just hypothetical, of course, but let's say I've been able to work my way up to right here. So where would I be starting the next month? I would be starting the next month below the starting point, right? Because the starting point was right here. And if I'm starting the month right there, you see, okay, I'm below the starting point. So in other words, but to keep it going, what do I have to do? Well, I have to make a payment again. So now what have I done? I've made another payment, which essentially means I bought another account because you're keeping it going. But with this account, this new account purchase, to keep it going, I'm actually starting less than where I could be if I just started new with a brand new account, right? Because if you go and start with a brand new account, well, you are starting at zero. And that's what that is representing. That is the zero line. That's where you begin. So why would I want to go and pay for another account and make this my new starting spot when I could just purchase another account and just have the new account be all right? Well, here's my new start right here. I'd rather start at zero rather than having my start be below zero because I decided to keep this account here where I took that $3,100. So my point is this. Some situation, it's better to either just blow up your account or get back up and pass the test. And that's it. I'll say that again. In some situations where your time is running out, where you're getting closer to that period where you got to pay to keep the test going, to keep the evaluation going, why would you pay to start below zero when you could just pay same amount to be able to start fresh, to start at the 0 point up here? We don't want to start down there. That makes zero sense. So in other words, let's just see what happens. Either you blow up the account, and if you do that, well, okay, you got to pay for a new account. But why would you pay that same amount to then start below the zero mark? So either blow up or pass the test. And that's where the numbers make sense, because if you don't pass, oh well. But if you blow up, oh well, because the plan all along was, well, I can just start afresh. But it's all a question of location. Where do you want to start the new test? Do you want to start the location down here, or do you want to start at zero? The obvious answer is, well, of course you want to start at zero. You don't want to pay the same amount to start in a location less than zero. And that's what I was at risk. After that $3,100 loss, I was now very close. And like I said, even if I'd worked my way back upwards, why would I ever want to start below zero when for the same exact amount, I could start at zero? I know I'm repeating myself, but this is a very, very important bit of logic and understanding how prop firms work, where you want to make sure that you're not paying to put yourself in a position where you could have paid the same exact amount and put yourself in a better position. And again, for the final time, that position being, are you starting at zero or are you starting below zero? Let's make sure we're starting at zero. So let me show you what this aggressive trading looked like. So right here, just looking on my screen, if you're not familiar with it, this is from a live trade video where I captured all this live, but you can see right there. Now I realize it's $30.95, but with commissions, it was actually probably a little bit above $3,100, but I'm now down $3,100. So at this point, you know what? Might as well just try to get this back and then make a little bit more money so I can keep the momentum going where I have a chance to actually pass the test. Because at this point, I'm only about $1,400 away from blowing the test. So I'm well below zero. Think about that yellow line we were just looking at, well below it. So at this point, you know what? Let's see what happens. Let's see if I can wipe this away, if I can get back to, green on this. And if not, if I blow the count, oh well, I can just start over again. So this is the first trade that I made, and let's just see what happens. And I go with 5 NQ. So I'm starting relatively, so you can watch here, see the numbers fluctuate. And yeah, pretty aggressive 5 NQ, but it'll get more aggressive. So just watching how things play out, and eventually I hop out. So, oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm still going. So there you go. I am now out, and you can say, okay. I brought the hold down to 27.20. So now I'm thinking, all right, I will look to buy here, and I'll start small, and that way if it pulls back some more, I'll just get super aggressive. build a big old position, and then we'll see if it wants to work its way back upwards. So that's the thought process here. We're going to get very aggressive, but I'm just starting with one contract, so I'm in. And again, these are the numbers that you're going to want to watch, and you'll see that I do add another one, so I'm already building. And I take that one out. So now down 23.45. Again, got more aggressive, but wasn't able to get a whole lot because it's not like it kept pulling back. It did bounce up, so I took the gains. So now this is where I just get totally spicy. Like this is super aggressive. I am now going up to 15 NQ contracts. That's pretty crazy. And if you have no context of how crazy it is, just watch that number again right there. Watch how those numbers fluctuate. And I'm just looking for a basic little scalp there. So I'm thinking, let's see if I can get a basic scalp with 15 NQ contracts. So let's see how this goes. So my order is in. It needs to pull down a little bit more. I'm in, and watch those numbers fluctuating. Look at those numbers fluctuating. So I'm out there for another scalp. And at this point, I've now worked it down to 14.45. So far, so good. So once again, ready for another trade. And yeah, I'm keeping it big. I'm going with 15 contracts. I'm looking to play this short. And if you're a beginner, all short means, or going short, if you've heard those terms, shorting, going short. And this applies to anything. Yes, this is futures, but it would apply to stocks, options. But going short or shorting, you want to see prices go down. If prices go down, that is a good thing. If prices go up, that means you would be losing money. But that is what I'll be doing here. And again, watch these numbers here, and you'll just see kind of how aggressive 15 NQ contracts is. So let's see how this one turned out. So I'm in. And I got the breakdown. And just like that, but made about $6,000 on that trade. And all of a sudden, I was now up $2,800. Again, the context, I really had nothing to lose. You know what? I either blow this up and I get to start afresh, I get to start at zero, or maybe I can get the losses back and potentially even put some more in my pocket. And there it was. Not only did I get the loss back with the super aggressive trading, I ended up putting $2,800 in my pocket. And again, there we have it. So as a recap, know the drawdown amount. Know, are they paying you? Is it monthly fees? How often are those fees? And then start to dictate and ask yourself the question. Again, I think the best way, where am I starting the new month at? If you're starting it below zero, that makes no sense. You might as well just blow up that account so that you can pay for a brand new account and then start at zero and then go from there. So just keep that in mind. If you do want to use Take Profit Trader, again, that's who I use. I recommend. I'll put a link down below. You can check them out. And the reason why I choose them over others is because of their payment policy. You can request payouts in any amount as often as you want. And that really does separate them from a lot of the other, prop firms out there. But if you want to use somebody else as a prop firm, that's fine too. But still, the general framework, the thought process is the key strategy of when it literally makes sense to get super aggressive, because mathematically, financially speaking, again, for the final time, it makes no sense to pay the same exact amount of money to put yourself starting below zero when you could actually be paying to start at zero and paying that same amount. So if there's any questions or anything like that, please leave those down below. I do read all comments. I will reply. So, and if you have questions or suggestions for other videos, please let me know. But yeah, any sort of questions on the strategy, then like I said, let me know and I'll give you my thoughts on it. But just something to consider. But I just would hate to see you paying an amount to start below zero when you could have paid that same amount to actually start at zero with a new test phase or evaluation combine, again, whatever the prop firm you're using and however they work. So keep these general rules in mind to make sure that you're not shortchanging yourself in your prop firm journey. So again, if you found this helpful, hit that like button. And if you're looking for a super free and easy way to support the channel, I guess the first way to do that would use the link down below. Yes, that's affiliate link. Yes, I will get something. So if you're looking for a way to support the channel, you can do that. Or just hitting the subscribe button. That helps out too. So I hope this helps. And like I said, let me know if there's any questions down below.